I just want to jump in and make 2 points. One, I just wanted to say that I found some of the observations by Sir Michael and Professor Nadia very instructive. But the larger point is about, can Europe go alone? Can it take a different path from the United States when it comes to its own core security and strategic interests? I just make one broad point as a naval person, as a sailor. To the extent that major powers are invested in strategic deterrence, and this strategic deterrent is the ballistic missile submarine, the SSBN. And currently, there is a certain global balance in terms of how that deterrent is maintained by the major powers, the United States, UK, France in the Western Alliance, and what Russia, China, and India now also have. There is what I would call as a certain status quo. My reading as a sailor is that Europe cannot go it alone as far as the deterrent at sea is concerned. They are heavily reliant on the United States. So to my mind, that is not an option. It would not be a prudent option if the European Union and the security leadership in Europe wants to remain invested in that kind of a deterrent. Will AI, will technology give you new options? That's a question mark. So that's the first broad point. The second is, when I hear Michael and Nadia talking about the way in which the United States and Europe would find a modus vivendi, would it be fair to extend the point made by Professor Nadia that the United States will act depending on its own core national security interests and the way it perceives them? I mean, that is the broad reduction, if I've understood her right. In which case, if next month, in March 2026, the White House comes to a determination that, come what may, Greenland has to become part of the United States because it is in our core national security interests, then would Europe have to go along? Or would there be a divergence within Europe about that? So these may be a bit stark, but to my mind, again, it appears that Europe has very few options. That when it comes to hard power, by the time Europe ramps up its defense spending, is able to invest in the really credible kind of macro strategic power, it will take time. In the interim, you have Moscow, you have Ukraine, you have President Putin, and whatever be his agenda, I'm sure there's an anxiety in most European capitals. So there are very few credible options for Europe in terms of going alone. That's the limited point I wanted to make.